morning, boys and girls. It is Tuesday, and we're continuing our lesson with primary and secondary sources. So yesterday you had a great lesson with Mr. Richards on how he uses primary and secondary sources in a real-life, real-world example. Today we're going to take that same thinking to ancient history. So Ms. Richards and I are going to go through a little lesson with you.
All right, so for the first part of this lesson, we need you to get out a piece of notebook paper, okay? So everyone at this time, go ahead and pull out a piece of blank notebook paper and then a pen or a pencil. All right, so go ahead, take some time to do that. You are going to be drawing along with Mrs. Danagelis in this activity, okay?
And you do not have to be a full-on artist. I am not either. It will be okay. Just follow the directions that you are given, and that will be great.
Perfect. So I'm going to describe a picture to Mrs. Danagelis. Now, she's never seen the picture before. I'm going to describe it to her, and she's going to do the best she can to interpret it correctly. All right? Are you ready to start?
I'm ready, but I don't know what I'm drawing. What am I drawing?
Great question. You are drawing a person.
Okay, person. So, who am I drawing then?
You're drawing a female person, and that's all the information I can give you.
Okay. Well, I've got a big piece of paper here, so I need to know where on the paper I'm going to start drawing.
Okay, so you're going to start with her chin at the bottom of the page. You're drawing her face.
Okay, portraits are pretty tough. Chins are different shapes. Is the chin pointy, rounded, chubby, skinny? Like, what kind of chin am I working with here?
Good question. So she has a pointed chin, and you should note that her face is pointed towards the left.
Oh,
so she's facing the left side of your page.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start that then.
So boys and girls, you are now drawing, along with Mrs. Danagelis, a female person who's facing the left with a pointed chin.
Okay. After the chin, I'm not sure where to go. How should I proceed?
All right, so she has a big nose and a large forehead, but her forehead is covered.
What's her forehead covered with?
So she has a big fur hat that covers her head.
So I have a pointy chin, a large nose, and a forehead, but it's covered with a
fur hat.
Adding in some fur.
Yep. Add in some fur.
Okay.
She has a big head. You can fill up the whole page with her head, if you can.
I'm feeling a little blank. I'm wondering if there are any eyes in this picture.
So she has one eye that you can see, and she has one wrinkle.
Where is the wrinkle located?
Good question. The wrinkle is located under her eye.
Okay. Ooh, challenging to draw a wrinkle. Okay.
She also has one eyelash.
Oh. She needs to get some mascara. Okay. What else should I add to my picture, Ms. Richards?
She has a fur coat on the very top of her shoulders. And the fur coat covers her entire neck.
That was a good detail. Okay.
All right, and then the last thing you should know is that she has a feather on the left side of her fur hat.
Okay.
She has one feather on the left side of her fur hat. We're excited to see your drawings.
Ms. Richards, I think I've done everything you've asked me to do. And you said that was the last piece, so feeling pretty good about that.
Yep, and then one more thing you should know is that she does not have an ear. Her fur hat covers her ear.
I I'm glad you said that because I forgot about the ears. Okay, so I'm glad you covered that. Thank you.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Time for the grand revealing.
Okay, boys and girls, I bet you shared your picture with your neighbor, or you've been kind of peeking over to see what your neighbor has. Let me show you my picture. Pretty cool. There's my picture.
Nice job, Mrs. DeAngelis.
Check that chin out.
That's good.
Kind of Jay Leno chin right there. So, I'm curious though. Did you notice with the different pictures, did you notice how everyone interpreted Miss Richards' directions a little bit differently? I'm going to assume that no one has a picture that looks like mine and no one has a picture that looks exactly like yours. Maybe similar, but not exactly the same.
Did you also notice that Mrs. DeAngelis used our 5 W's, who, what, where, when, and why, throughout the whole time she was drawing her picture? She was asking questions to gather more information from my interpretations.
Which leads me to the next question. Did you notice that Miss Richards was looking at her computer at the picture and then interpreting the picture and giving me information through her interpretation of the picture she was looking at?
And then did you also notice that Mrs. DeAngelis was interpreting what she heard and then transferring that information onto her picture?
So with all that interpreting going on and all that observation going on,
and question asking,
can you tell the picture that Miss Richards was looking at, what kind of source would that be? The picture that she was actually looking at and thinking through and telling me what to do, what type of source is that? Think about it for a second. Ask your neighbor. Okay. If that is actually a primary source. So hopefully you said primary source. The picture she was looking at, not my picture, not your picture, but the picture that Miss Richards is looking at is the primary source.
And then what type of source do you think is my interpretation of my primary source to Mrs. DeAngelis to her picture? What kind of source is that? Take a minute and think about it. All right, so that, you're right, is a secondary source because it's the second version, so to speak, of the primary source, all right?
Okay.
All right, guys, I'm going to show you now the picture that I was looking at, the primary source, the picture that I wanted you all to draw. Are you ready? All right, here we go. There it is, guys. Go ahead and pause the video and take a look at this picture and tell your teacher and tell your classmates what you see. There are actually 2 different ways to interpret this picture, okay? There are 2 different things that you can see, 2 different people. All right, hopefully you've had a chance to talk about this with your class. At this point, I'm going to show you the 2 different pictures that you need to see. So first is the old lady, the person that I was describing. So here's her nose, okay? And here is her chin, all right? And she does have a mouth, which I forgot to describe in the picture, but that's okay. Here, if you continue, are her shoulders. Okay, so there's the fur coat on her shoulders. Here's her eye right here with her one eyelash. And here's her wrinkle. Okay. And then she does have a big forehead, but it's covered by this big fur coat. All right. And there's the old lady. Hopefully you can see it. Obviously, and then her feather here. All right. Now let me show you the young woman that you might not have seen so far. So the young woman is a little harder to see, but she's turned with her face backwards even more. So here's the young woman's neck, okay? There's her neck, and she's wearing a choker necklace, all right? Here is her chin, all right? So there's the chin of the young woman. It's not very good. So her chin and her face are here, so that's her cheekbone. You can't see her mouth. This is her head right here. Here's her eyelash, and then here is her nose, okay? And then this is her neck, like I said, and she has a choker necklace on. And then she is also wearing a fur hat, but that's her face, okay? Let's go back and erase. You can see it there. So she's got the eyelash, no eye, just the eyelash, the nose. Do you see the young woman in the picture? This picture is called an optical illusion, and that's because there's two different things that you can interpret from the same picture. All right, so have your teacher help you if you can't see the two women in this picture. But great job.
So boys and girls, I had a lot of fun drawing today, and that was a cool activity, but what's the point of this activity? So when I was drawing, you probably noticed again that I had to ask many W questions to be able to draw a conclusion as to what my picture should look like. I had to keep going back to Miss Richards and re-examining what I needed to know to draw my pictures. And even with all that information, all of our pictures turned out a little bit different. And that's okay. But just like that activity, we can see that people draw different conclusions from the same sources as they're doing research in history. This happens all the time as historians try to draw conclusions. Why did this happen? Historians do not always agree about why did this happen, even with the same source of information. This happened also when we did the science activity. Remember the cube? On the bottom, you had to decide with the same source of information what is on the bottom. Some of you thought it was a shaded number 2, but some people did not agree with that. So you had to work through that together. Again, this is what happens in real life with historians. They do not always agree on what happened, even though they had the same source of information. They have to be willing to change their perspective as new information is revealed.
Okay, and now things get really deep, Mrs. Danagelis. Guys, let's think about how we all looked at the same exact primary source, this black and white image that I am showing you on the screen. Remember, there were two different ways to interpret the one image. Some of us saw the old lady, but some of us saw the young woman. That's because they were both intentionally supposed to be in the same picture. Because remember, it was an optical illusion drawing. Trippy. But that's exactly how studying and learning about history works too. Historians interpret events based off what they believe or what they understand from the time period. They base interpretations off their prior knowledge of the subject or what they have learned so far. Other historians come along and they interpret a whole new aspect of the same historical event or primary source that is found. And that's why we study all the different sides of history. That's why we want you to learn how to look at primary sources yourself and come up with your own questions and your own thoughts about history.
Okay, boys and girls, now we're going to actually look at an historical example of how we use sources and how people interpret things differently. I think you'll really like this guy named Otzi. He's pretty interesting, and you'll learn a little bit about him today and then more in the future. Be thinking about those W questions as you watch this clip.
All right, guys, thanks for watching that video. I'm sure that you have a lot of questions that you could come up with after learning about Otzi. And we just wanted you to notice how different historians have different views on their findings sometimes. All right, and now you can answer the reflection of the day. What was a question that was asked in the video by the historians, and what is a question you have after learning about Otzi and the Neolithic time period, okay?
Boys and girls, I have lots of questions personally, so I'm sure you do too. We'll be doing a follow-up to Otzi soon, so you may even get some more information about him, which I think you'll enjoy.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.